Guys, OpenAI just announced agent mode. It's an AI agent, your own personal ChatGPT AI agent, which historically has been a little bit complicated to set up, but now it's massively available to all the paid subscribers. So what does this mean? It's essentially leveraging previous tools like deep research mode and operator, the web search capability, to go out on the web autonomously to perform actions. You can give it multiple tasks. It will perform all of them and use its own intelligence to execute them. This has massive implications across many different industries. And today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about exactly what's happening with this new OpenAI agent. We're going to talk about some practical use cases, and we're going to talk about some of the hazards or problems that are going to arise from this. And I'm just very excited about this. I've been playing with AI agents for quite some time, almost since OpenAI released its ChatGPT model and API model 2 years ago. So I've been doing a lot of cool stuff with AI agents, but today it's going to be much more readily accessible. So I want to keep this super practical at first and just briefly explain what an AI agent is. Because if you're new, if you're an everyday guy like me, you might be thinking like, what is this? What does it mean? I like to keep things simple as possible. I like to talk like not in tech talk. I'm not a software engineer, I'm a regular guy. I'm just trying to stay relevant in a crazy, crazy world. And if that's you, by the way, this is the #1 channel for AI news and updates for men. For men, we got to stay relevant, boys. If we lose our jobs, our wives won't respect us, our kids won't respect us, our families won't respect us, our churches won't respect us. You won't respect you, and we don't want that. We want to remain relevant. We want to crush it. So let's talk about, smash subscribe. So let's talk about what an AI agent actually is. Essentially, again, as I mentioned, it's an autonomous system that you can give multiple tasks to, and it will go out and perform them. So for example, maybe you need to plan a date night with your wife, and you say, schedule me a reservation, pull me a cab, get me a card, I want flowers there at the table, and it'll perform all those tasks for you in a row, right? It just makes it a lot easier because I tend to forget things. But you could have an autonomous agent say, whenever one of my family members has a birthday, make sure to send them a nice gift. These are the things that they like, and it'll go out and it'll do that. Professionally, we'll talk about some of the implications too, because there's a lot there. And get this, guys, the global AI market right now, according to McKinsey, is forecasted to grow from 5 billion last year to 47 billion by 2030. So AI agents are huge. They're absolutely huge. And as I mentioned before, I think what's really cool and really exciting about what ChatGPT and OpenAI are doing is they're making it very accessible to the everyday guy. I've been using AI agents to write emails, to write letters, to generate images, to create show notes. I run a creative marketing agency. We produce thousands of podcasts and videos for clients and customers. And we've been using AI agents throughout that process to create custom work to save me and my team time. But now with this new integration, it just makes it easier to apply. You don't need to worry about webhooks and Zapier APIs and integrations. It's just gonna be much easier because you're gonna be able to handle it all within the ChatGPT app. And again, all this stuff is gonna get easier. Level 1 stakes were I'm using AI as a chatbot. Level 2 stakes are I'm able to automate those tasks. So let's talk specifically about what these this new AI agent mode does. By the way, you need to be a paid subscriber to ChatGPT to leverage the function, and I don't actually have it yet. So they're rolling it out. It's very experimental, and we're going to talk about why in just a moment. What does it do? Autonomous task execution. So it's going to plan and complete real-world actions such as browsing the web, clicking buttons, filling out forms, running code, assessing and analyzing data. All this stuff it can do autonomously. So again, you can ask it to do a bunch of different things. We're going to get to practical uses in a minute. So that's the thing we can do. Integrate tools. So it's going to have a visual browser. And by the way, OpenAI did kind of a demo. It was incredibly boring, but they did a demo, and it's going to be like an open web, open browser. Basically what ChatGPT is going to do is it's going to open up its own web browser and start going around the web, performing these functions. And you can actually watch while it does it, which is pretty cool. It's going to go out, it's going to perform all these actions. What you can also do is you can integrate other softwares that you use, like your Gmail account, your GitHub account, your Google Drive, your 11 Labs account, anything that has an API, which is just about every software nowadays, your HubSpot account, your Salesforce, your Go High Level account, any one of your platforms that has an API can integrate into this, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk about some of the problems that can come up with that, but that's what it can do. You can schedule recurring tasks. So for example, on my newsletter, I have a newsletter that I send out historically every Friday. It's called the AI Update, where I share the top AI news from the week. But guys, there is so much news happening that I was talking to my team member that helps me with the newsletter. And I said, just going to sleep last night, I told my wife, I'm like, I don't know what to do. There's so many interesting stories that I want to cover on the YouTube channel, but I just can't cover them because I can only really do one video per day with my schedule. And good problem to have. In any event, we're using AI agents to help source the stories, write copy, generate images, and we're bumping it up, guys, from 6 days, from 1 day a week to 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Top AI news for men. All right, top AI news for men for 6 days a week, because on the seventh day God rested, and so do we. Right? I rest on the Sabbath. That's just my thing. So that's anyway. That's just another example of how you can use it to schedule recurring tasks. Do the research, write me a draft, generate an image. All this stuff can be done, and write me a Twitter post, write me this, write me that. So you can do all that stuff, which is pretty cool. Now, also one of the cool things that you can do with ChatGPT in this new agent mode, in addition to scheduling recurring tasks, is you can output different types of files now. Slideshows, spreadsheets, checklists, reports, all pretty cool. And one of the things that I've really been looking forward to is a better way of generating slideshows. I've used AI slideshow platforms in the past, and they just have not been very good. I just have a VA that puts them together. I think that he does a much better job. But I would love to see a better way of creating spreadsheets and charts and graphs that are AI generated. They just historically haven't been very good. Now, one of the cool things that's also important about this new update from ChatGPT is that if you don't like the track that your AI agent is going, you can kind of tell it to stop. You can go in and you can kind of edit the results and the responses. You can kind of pause it and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing, stop that. And it will not only stop, but it will remember where it was. So you can kind of like pause it and pick up where it left off, which I think is a really neat feature. Historically, if you hit stop, you kind of have to somewhat start from scratch with a brand new prompt. So being able to have more control throughout the process, I think, is going to be great. And, I just think that that's a really, really big deal. So this is kind of the broad highlights of what's happened. Again, I haven't had the chance to get in and play with it just yet. I did, by the way, earlier this week, record a video on Grok. You definitely want to check that out up here. Grok had a huge release this week with Super Grok, which went kind of crazy. But I love Grok for doing research. It is, I haven't been really impressed with OpenAI, ChatGPT's research. Grok's has been very good. That's part of my normal workflow. And I integrated Grok, or XAI, into my deep research this past week, and it's been excellent. It's been excellent. I really liked it. It needs some tweaking on the prompting, but one of the things that I promised you guys is I would start getting in and playing with Grok this week. I've been playing with it. I think it is excellent for research, for summaries, for assessing data. I've just found it to be much more accurate. I don't like it for image generation. I don't think it's very good. I still like ChatGPT and Midjourney. I still like for image generation. But I found that ChatGPT's research and web browsing is not as good. I just don't find it to be accurate. I find that it hallucinates and makes up numbers. And I just haven't been as impressed with that. Grok's, I think, is a lot better. XAI is a lot better. So that's, anyway, my personal opinion. You may disagree. You can put it in the comments below. If you have a really good retort, I'll even pin your comment too. So listen, I like to pin comments, unless you're one of those guys that leaves a comment like idiot. I probably won't pin that. But if you take some time and leave a thoughtful comment, I'm happy to pin it and replace my newsletter link with that. So leave a thoughtful comment. So let's talk about practical implications. There's infinite practical implications. If you have a good practical application, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to share it. But there's a number of, I think, really practical ones from the workplace. Rearranging meetings based on your calendar, based on the news, what's happening within your organization. Just having ChatGPT integrated into your Google Calendar, for example, and knowing if there's a conflict or changing things around could be really helpful. These are the types of minutiae that just take time. They take up your mental workspace when you should be focusing on other things. Then you've got to worry about, I got to switch around these calendars. I got to invite these people. Just being able to, and by the way, I didn't mention this, but with where things are going, just the ability to use your voice to tell a software what you want it to do and have it do it is insanely valuable. And I don't think that the agents are quite there yet, but I'll give you an example, a personal example of some of the small changes in voice that really make a difference. I have a Roku on 2 of my TVs at home, okay? And on one of the Rokus, it has a voice on it. So I can, for example, say, hey Roku, or I don't even say, hey Roku, I say, find me a YouTube video about AI updates for the week with a guy that walks and talks and looks like me. Boom, it'll go out and it'll bring up YouTube, it'll find some videos, done. On the other hand, on another one of my TVs, I have to physically go in and type and click all the different instructions I want. I have to open up the app, I have to go to search. This is, I think, just a very small practical example of how powerful AI agents are going to be when you can say, hey, ChatGPT, change up my meeting for later today with my barber. I need to meet with my business partner to discuss the new ChatGPT update, and please notify everyone involved. And boop, 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 it'll do it. And so I think that's a pretty big shift in functionality as that comes along. So that's again an example. You can use it to build financial models, to analyze competitors, create slide decks. So for example, you could say, ChatGPT, look at who are the biggest competitors in my industry. Please analyze their financials, their trajectories, perform a SWOT analysis, create spreadsheets based on all of their projected growth as well as mine, and put together a potential budget allocation for this upcoming annual meeting, and also create a slideshow presentation in our brand's colors so that I could present to the board of directors or potential investors. Done. It'll do all of it, which is pretty cool. Data analysis. I still have ChatGPT for data analysis. I mentioned this, I think, earlier this week, I think in that Grok video, but I'm working with the CTO of one of the companies that I do consulting with. And he sent me over a chart that I just didn't, or a big spreadsheet with tons and tons of information. And I wasn't really clear on what it meant. So I copied it, pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, hey, can you break this down and explain what this means? Instantly, it assessed all the data. I was able to go deeper with it, ask it questions like, well, what are the implications? Where do you think the opportunities are? Where do you think the leaks are? I felt like a genius. I looked like a genius because I didn't have to go to the CTO and say, hey, can we hop on a call so I can find out what this means? No, it did it all. So that's not necessarily an agent, but that's me just copy and pasting a screenshot into ChatGPT and letting it do the data analysis. I think that people underestimate how powerful that is. And if you're not using this type of functionality to interpret charts or graphs, it's pretty astounding. It's pretty astounding. And again, I feel like I keep talking about this. One of the things that AI is going to do is if you're an expert, you're going to become extra efficient because you don't need to spend the 10 minutes, 5 minutes going through this chart. ChatGPT can break it down for you instantly, and you can look for errors and omissions. But if you're a beginner at something, you can look like a genius just by using ChatGPT to assess this type of information. So it's pretty beneficial there. Script writing, technical roles like investment banking. There's just all sorts of things that these agents can do. And again, if you set them up on a scheduled automated basis, you could wake up every morning and kind of understand like how your stock portfolio is doing. Okay, we're going to talk about hazards in just a moment because I think that's important to understand as well when it comes to giving it personal information. This is something that actually Sam Altman talked about, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll get there in just a minute. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, thank you for hitting the like button. It means a lot and it helps trigger the algorithm so we can impact more men in a positive way. Travel itineraries, finding deals on bookings. One of the things that was an example that was shared by the OpenAI team was, hey, I have to go to a black tie event. Please find me a suit, find me shoes, book a Uber ride, find me a hotel. And it, in the background, it was doing all of that. Again, it wasn't a very good presentation as a whole, but that was, I think, a pretty interesting example of what you could do. We talked about researching automation. I think that that's all really, it's really powerful. Just saying, you know, assess the S&P 500 today, generate, you know, various graphs, charts, budgets, trends, put them together in slideshows, create a meeting or send out an email to all the officers in my organization or to my team. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. And by the way, again, you with an AI agent, you can have a stop point on it. So for example, you could say, draft me the email so that when you wake up, you don't have to, it's not automatically sent out. You actually get the final say and you get to press go. You, or maybe an assistant that you trust. So you're able to, again, to leverage all that, because this type of work, guys, could take you 30 to 45 minutes, but you can have it done instantly and kind of skip right ahead. And this is where the big gains are going to come for guys like you and me who are leveraging these agents, these automatic scheduling, recurring, autonomous actions. That's where we're going to save all our time. Anyway, insane. Let's talk about hazards. Let's talk about some of the hazards and problems. One of the obvious ones is security vulnerabilities, okay? And privacy and data risks. So I'm going to lump these into two, because when you let an AI agent go out and operate on your behalf, you're giving it a lot of trust. And if there's something that I've experienced, and you've probably experienced too, sometimes ChatGPT will just do some really wonky stuff. It'll do some stuff that just doesn't make sense, or it's just straight out incorrect. Or like we saw last week with Grok, it was talking about Mecha Hitler and all kinds of crazy anti-Semitic stuff. So do you really trust your AI agent to go out and do things on your behalf? For some actions, I would say yes. For other actions, I would say no. If it's just sending out emails automatically on your behalf, that could be a little risky. So you might want to be careful about that. Do you want it reading and replying to emails on your behalf? Do you want it clicking links in your emails on behalf? If there's one thing that you should not be doing, it's clicking links from strangers. And Sam Altman brought this up in a post on X, that if you're allowing your AI agent to just review your Gmail account and respond and click links and stuff, you could potentially be putting yourself into a dangerous position, because hackers, cybersecurity threats are going to become smart to this. They're going to know that people are using these AI agents, and they're going to understand how to manipulate them probably better than we actually understand how to use them. So these old types of threats like, hey, these old type of threats like, would you please send me $500? I'm a Nigerian prince, are going to become more sophisticated, and they're going to know how to leverage these tools probably, again, better than we understand how to use them. And they're going to know how to kind of use the back door. One of the things that they have announced is that they're going to be moving off the memory feature, which memory feature I think is actually one of my favorite parts about ChatGPT, but they're going to be removing that. No password collection. There's options to delete data. So there's just a lot, I think, to consider as a user on these types of things. The other kind of concern is novices using these tools to create bioweapons and create meth and stuff like that we obviously don't want to be happening. And I don't necessarily know that that's necessarily an AI agent problem as much as it is an AI problem as a whole. Regardless, that is certainly something to be aware of. But for me, My concern with letting an AI agent go out on my behalf and just start browsing the web and responding and clicking buttons is that either A, it would get stuff wrong, or B, it would click the wrong link or expose personal information, log into the wrong place or the wrong website. These are, and probably we'll see people making mistakes. I don't know if you've seen that Coldplay video where the guy, the CEO of astronomer.com, one of these companies, astronomer.ai. Anyway, the CEO of one of these big companies was caught with his side chick at a Coldplay event. And dummy, we're going to see a lot of people that are going to get caught up in different problems like this, and they're going to say, "Oh, it wasn't me; it was the AI that was doing this, that was on that website, that said this thing." So that's a prediction. Regardless, the AI agents are here. They are going to be life-changing. And the people, the guys, the men like you and me that are learning to leverage these tools are going to be at a significant advantage. It's only going to become more important. And yesterday, I recorded a video about Meta's doubling down on AI and data centers. Guys, Meta is building a $100 billion data center in the middle of Louisiana. It is going to be the size of Manhattan. It's going to be producing 5 gigawatts worth of energy on a regular basis. So it is great. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of water are going through this data center. They are doubling down because the key here is that the more data that they're able to process, the more power, the more energy that they have, the better their AI sources and their AI information is going to be. Guys, this is only going to get better and more impressive. You have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to stay ahead of the curve. So I would encourage you, check out this video from yesterday. I think it's really important to know what's happening with Meta and all these big companies and the speed at which they're building these data centers. It's coming. In any event, go check out ChatGPT and I'll check you in the next video. All right, peace.